Hello everybody, welcome to this video. Today we are making glue and we're looking at this booklet called Celebrating Chemistry from the American Chemical Society. This is for National Chemistry Week and the theme this year is called Sticking with Chemistry and it's all about adhesives. The activity we're going to do today is called Making Glue at Home. It's on page 4 of the booklet. And we are following several safety rules today. In chemistry, safety is paramount. For safety, we need to make sure that we're wearing safety goggles. These are the goggles I'll be wearing today. You also need to make sure that you're wearing protective clothing, such as long-sleeve shirts and closed-toed shoes. We will be dealing with hot liquids, so please be sure to use caution with the hot liquids. And although we're using items that you can find in your kitchen, such as milk and vinegar and baking soda, do not eat anything that you're using for a chemistry experiment. If you're allergic to milk, please be sure to wear gloves, and make sure you wash your hands after you're done with the activity. Also make sure that you have an adult to help you to make this glue. Everything that we do today can be thrown out, so disposed of in the trash. Any container that you use can be washed and reused. For the materials today, we will be using 1/2 cup of skim milk. So I have it measured in a beaker, but you can just use a 1/2 cup measuring. It's important to use skim milk, so fat-free skim milk, because you don't want any fat in the milk because the fat will interfere with the reaction. We are also using a tablespoon of vinegar. A tablespoon is 15 milliliters. And the vinegar is also called acetic acid. We're using 1.5 teaspoons, 1.5 teaspoons of baking soda, aka sodium bicarbonate, 1 tablespoon of water. So that's 15 milliliters of water. I have it here in a graduated cylinder, but you can use a tablespoon measurer. We need something to stir. So I'm using what's called a scoopula. You can use a spoon at home. We need a plastic funnel. So I have a plastic funnel, and you can also maybe find these in your kitchen. We also need something to filter with. I have something called filter paper. But a coffee filter or a paper towel or a cheesecloth would also work. You need a microwave safe dish. I'm going to be using this beaker here, this glass beaker, but you'll need something that can go in your microwave. A small plastic cup. So I have this little cup. Another disposable plastic cup. So I'll just be using 2 of these same cups. You'll need a pot holder or insulated kitchen glove. And then the other materials that you see are for a different activity. But we also will need a thermometer as the last item for our activity. Okay, so now we're going to follow along with the procedure. The first step is to heat up our milk. So we're going to heat up our milk. And the procedure says that you can do this in the microwave. I'm going to be using a hot plate. If you're using a microwave, you can put your milk, your 1/2 cup or 118 milliliters of milk in a microwave safe glass, and you can heat it up for about 30 seconds. All right, so I have my milk on the hot plate. It's going to take a while to heat up. I have the heat at about medium, and we're going to use the thermometer to check the temperature of the milk. The temperature that we want is 74 degrees Celsius or 165 degrees Fahrenheit. So I have my thermometer in there. And we're just going to let this milk heat up for a little bit until we reach our temperature. All right, our milk has been heating for some time. I have it on the hot plate and I've been stirring it with the thermometer in. Right now we're reading 73.8 and it just hit 74. So I'm going to grab some kitchen towel and take it off and put it on paper towels on the countertop. I'm going to turn off my hot plate and move the hot plate to this stool beside me. Okay, so here is our hot skim milk. We're stirring constantly, and I have it on the counter now, so hopefully you can see the contrast between the white milk and the countertop. Next step says stirring constantly, add the vinegar to the milk. So let's add the vinegar and see what happens. I'm going to add it pretty slowly, and it says stir constantly, so I'm going to keep stirring it really, really well. And I can feel this thickening up. And I think you should be able to see what's happening. So take a look at this material. So what we're doing now by adding the vinegar is an acid, and we are interacting with the protein called casein in the milk. And this is called coagulation. Chemically speaking, you can also call it denaturation. And it is something that happens when cheese is made. Also, if you ever make buttermilk in your kitchen, you add a little bit of vinegar to the milk, and that will curdle it as well. So we want this white solid substance. And if you've ever heard of curds and whey, this is the curd, and then the rest of the liquid material that we've left behind is the whey. Alright, so it says continue stirring until no more lumps form. And then let it settle for 5 minutes. You should observe the separation of the solids from the liquid. Okay, so I'm going to set a timer for 5 minutes, and then we'll come back to this after the time is up. Alrighty, so we have let our milk sit for 5 minutes. This is after we added the vinegar, and we have separated the protein called casein from the whey, and we have a liquid and a solid component now. So we have curds and whey. And what we're going to do next is filter and separate the solid from the liquid. So at this point, what we need is the funnel. We need something to rest the funnel in. I'm just using a beaker. You can use any type of glass or mug, as long as the funnel will fit in it. And I'm also using filter paper. You can use a coffee filter or cheesecloth or a paper towel. I'm going to use filter paper. And what we're going to do is decant the liquid into the filter paper, and we're going to separate the solid. So we're going to decant all of this liquid the whey and separate it from our solid component. Now you might find that it's kind of slow to separate the liquid, and at least how I have it, all of the solid stuck together in one pretty big lump with none that is left behind. So what I'm going to do is just take the solid with my scoopula, or you could use your spoon, and I'm just going to put it in the filter and separate it a little bit easier and a little bit faster. But if you have more of a mixture that does not have as clear of a separation, then you'll want to let it filter through that filter paper. But I have found when I've done it that you can really just take that solid with your spoon and separate it from the liquid or the whey. Now this can just be rinsed down the drain, and then whatever, if you're using a glass from your kitchen, you can just clean that and reuse it. Okay, so here we have the solid, and we do want to get all of the liquid out of it. So I want to just make sure to squeeze the solid with my scoopula or my spoon, and separate it from any of the liquid. So I'm just going to squish it against the sides of the filter paper and get rid of all of that excess whey. We want it to be as dry as possible. Alrighty, so for the next step, we did step 5. This said using a spoon, gently squeeze the excess liquid left in the solid. Transfer the solid from the paper filter into a plastic cup. Alright, so I'm going to take this, just kind of scoop it up, and I'm going to put it in my plastic cup. So here we go. Here's our solid now. Alrighty, so for our next step, following the making glue at home procedure on page 4, we are going to add 1 tablespoon of fresh water and mix it well with a spoon. So 1 tablespoon is also 15 milliliters. I'm going to add my 15 milliliters of water, and then we're going to stir this. It takes some vigorous stirring in order to incorporate the water into our solid milk protein. So I'm kind of going to almost cut it up and incorporate that water into it. If you're doing this at home, it might be useful to use a fork and really get in there and separate the milk proteins, because we want a homogeneous mixture and we want it to be pretty liquidy. So remember, you don't want to eat any food that you're using for a chemistry experiment, but basically at this point our solid is mozzarella cheese. So just keep working at it, incorporating it into the water. And eventually you'll get a liquid mixture. Alrighty, so it took some vigorous stirring, but eventually you'll get it to the point where you have broken up your solid and incorporated it with the liquid, and you want a mixture that's as smooth as possible. And the last couple steps are to neutralize the vinegar. So the vinegar is an acid, and we're going to use baking soda, or sodium bicarbonate, and it is a base. So I want to make sure you can see this. So I'm going to hold our glue close to the camera, and we're going to add some baking soda to it. So what I'm going to do, I'm not going to dump it in all at once because we don't necessarily want to use all of it. I'm just going to take it on the tip of another scoopula, or you can use a spoon. And I'm going to put it into our mixture. And watch to see if there are any changes on the surface of our mixture. Alright, if you can see any foaming, that is the reaction of the baking soda, so the base, with the vinegar, which is an acid. And you should be able to see some tiny bubbles forming, and those bubbles are carbon dioxide gas. And that's telling us that the vinegar is being neutralized. And we want to add the baking soda in until all of that vinegar is neutralized, and we'll be able to tell that it's neutralized because no more bubbles will form. And you'll notice a big change in the consistency or the texture of your mixture at this point too. This is when it really starts to come together. So I'm going to keep adding some baking soda. If you've ever made a volcano at home with vinegar and baking soda, this is very similar. So same chemicals, just used for a different purpose. Okay, and so at this point we can see our mixture becoming a lot smoother. We had pretty big bumps before, but now we're able to work them out. I'm going to set it down so I can really mix. And maybe add one more little bit of baking soda. It's okay to add a little bit extra to check to make sure all of your vinegar's gone by making sure that no more bubbles are forming, but we don't want to add too much baking soda. Okay. As I'm putting it in and mixing it, I don't see any more bubbles, and that's telling me that all the vinegar must be neutralized. Okay, so stir it up until you are satisfied with its texture. The texture should look somewhat like this, and at this point it is safe to touch. You can use it like glue and experiment with it, see if it will stick paper together. There's an activity where you can see if it will hold up to other glue. You can test it and how strong it is by using it with popsicle sticks and compare it to some other glue that you might have at home. So again, this glue is safe to touch. Just please be sure that you wash your hands after handling it and do not eat it. And this also will spoil after about a day. So once you're done with it, please be sure to throw it away after a day. And anything that you've used to glue together with it, be sure to throw that away too. So don't glue anything that you really want to keep for a long time with this glue. Alrighty, so thank you very much for watching. I hope that you'll follow along at home and make some glue. Remember to use skim milk. So that's maybe the most important thing. Use fat-free milk because if you buy milk or have milk with fat, the fat will interact with the reaction and not allow the glue to form. So thank you for watching.